Hello, greetings, my sweet dears. Welcome to this video. Today I'll be sharing with you my new moon practice with the Portals of Presence deck here. I'm going to be unfolding this practice right in front of you. It centers around this deck because I wanted to start working with this deck. If you saw my video about the 8 decks that I want to invest in this year, I quickly decided that this would be a really great deck to work with for every new moon and allow one of the faces, entities, energies in this deck to be with me, to be present with me, to open a portal together to experience for that lunar cycle. I do already have a lunar rhythm set of like this whole reading that I do at the new moon, the first quarter, the full moon, and the last quarter. But this is just a sort of addition and maybe an overall energetic layer to that practice, to the lunar rhythm practice that I'm already engaging in. If you can't tell, this video is going to be a lot more maybe quieter, lower energy. So if you're looking for something high energy, this may not be the video for you, but if you're looking for something that's a little bit more chill, you have come to the right place. The reason also why I wanted to film tonight, even though I am having a lower energy right now, is because one, it is the night of the new moon, so I wanted it to be in the proper timing, but also because I really wanted this practice to support me where I'm at, and I wanted to also show up where I'm at on the channel, of course, as I always do. But yeah, so this is just another way of doing that. And so, yeah, it's just going to be chill vibes. We are going to show up, open a portal together, and see where it takes us. So I'm going to shuffle this deck, and we're going to start off with the word that I often use with this deck is guardian, but we could look at it as like a face of deity, a spirit, a face of myself, a version of myself, past life, whatever the case may be. We'll just see when it comes up, what comes up. It's also going to be kind of vulnerable for me to do this reading. I do readings on the channel, but as it's going to be a very personal reading, it's just going to be a little vulnerable. So thanks for joining me. Let's approach this entire video and ourselves at this time, this new moon, with just loving and comforting, quiet energy, just like really fluffy, just cozy vibes. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna shuffle, take some deep breaths, set my intention for this time, and we will pull a card and see where it takes us. I'm just tapping into the portals of presence here. Really grateful for this deck and the energies that it holds, the energies that it explores, and just wanting to connect with the moon at this time, the dark moon, and ask that during this cycle that is to come, that an entity, a guardian, a face comes forward to be with me, to help me, to assist me, to illuminate whatever the verb is that that is needed at this time. May that come forward. May I be able to receive it, and may whoever is watching also receive what they need to receive as well. Okay, here we go. Wow. Okay, so my first impression of this card was it's an old man, and it feels like he has this beard, but at the same time it feels like it's made of fire. And of course we have these rays coming out. I don't really have any sort of feeling or interpretation about that, just really an observation and witnessing. But then after I, looked at it for a few more seconds, it reminded me of my grandfather, specifically the eyes. And actually, my grandfather recently passed away, and it's so interesting because today, I was really thinking about, as I was leaving the house, how, I haven't actually really been able to process it fully. And I know that's the thing with grief, right? Like it has its own timeline and it has its own energy surges and waves. And, I've been embracing that. And I really haven't been down on myself for, feeling what I'm feeling, or feeling or not feeling what I'm not feeling, if that makes sense. And I was really, it was just a brief thought. He's really gone. He's really gone. And really, this feels like less of him per se showing up, but really an aspect of myself and a face of my process. I don't know. I'm really intrigued by those light rays coming from the head. It feels like how I feel. It just feels. There's so much feeling. So if you watched my Primal and Primordial decks video, you will know that I found out that the Prairie Majesty Oracle is a really beautiful pairing with the Portals of Presence. And so as I decided to work with the Portals of Presence, I decided, hey, why don't I work with the pairing that I found out was really beautiful by accident? And so yeah, this is really the foundation of the reading, these two decks. And we will maybe potentially pull other ones as we go. But now for what will the question be for the Prairie Majesty? I think really what I want is for the Prairie Majesty just to expand on what's coming up, what I'm reading here in this face and in this energy. Just expanding on the energy for me, sort of opening it up a little bit. So I am going to pull 2 cards, but I'm going to put them here, and then I will zoom out. Okay, so let us start here. Let's see what we have. Okay. We have, what am I listening for? With the great horned owl. As you know, owl has been very present for me this year. I might have even mentioned it in my last video. Oh, what am I listening for here? It's so interesting because this is not actually their ears. But it's about hearing. For the next one, we have, would more tenderness help? Yeah, that's really what we're doing here. I just find it so interesting that we have cards from the same suit here. So if you don't know, this deck has suits. You can tell by the color of the word at the bottom. So we have dew, know, sorry, that's not easy to see. Know, feel, and claim. And so this falls into the know category. Both of these do. So yeah, I really came into this reading wanting to give myself some tenderness. So I feel like this is an affirmation that I am absolutely in the right space. Honestly, I don't know. This reading feels so personal. I don't know. um, I really feel like this is a call to make space for myself, to listen to myself when it comes to this grief process. How have I been engaging with it? I feel like, I'm if it was just these cards, I would say, yeah, I'm definitely in a new wave of grief, and I would go with that, but because of the experience that I had earlier, and the reflections that I was already having, I feel like it's really a time for me to make space for listening to the flow of my own process, as well as listen for messages from him and connect with him and engage in that process. Of course, if you've been watching my previous videos, I have been talking a lot about working with spirits who have passed on. And yeah, this feels like another invitation, or I should say, avenue to explore and connect with that aspect of my process. This is an ancestor now, and to be honest, I'm not fully sure what to do with that, but I think for every ancestor it's different, specifically when it comes to the ones in our direct line. So yeah, I do want to pull a few more cards, but I'm trying to figure out what deck now. Alrighty, my dears. So I decided to use 3 decks. As you can see, I already shuffled, and I wanted to take a personal moment to shuffle, ask my questions, and really center in on, as I said, what decks I was going to use, but also how I wanted to use them, what questions I wanted to ask. So we can start here. I decided to use Nakisha's Oracle. You will have seen it in my most recent video where I unboxed it. This is my first time doing a reading with the deck. I didn't even do like an introductory reading because I didn't plan on using it just yet, but here we go. So I decided to pull this because it's a nature oracle. I think the backs go really well also with the other 2 decks. The Portals of Presence, almost perfect right there. I mean, sorry, that was the Prairie Majesty and the Portals of Presence background as well. Very loopy, so I think it was just a beautiful match in that way, but also nature-wise. I wanted to ask about sort of where and how, or what and how was it? Pretty much around how can I nest during this time of grief? How can I take care of this new wave of grief? What does that look like? And then we'll move over here. For this, I used where's the cover? The Mother Tarot. I don't know if I've talked about this. Oh no, I think I talked about it in my decks that I don't use. But yeah, it's a deck that I don't use. And I've never really found like a full-on place for it in my practice, but it does come up, here and there. So this is a moment where it came up, I think, because of the energetic and visual match that it felt like the artwork might have, but also because this is on my mother's side, and there's something about that connection just made sense, even though it's not necessarily about mothers per se. And so what I chose it here was to sort of represent what I can listen for when it comes to the lineage that my grandfather left behind. So in my family, for myself, what can I focus my ears toward listening to, towards implementing. Just wanted to read into that energy. And so up here we have the Iris Oracle. Here's the box. What was beautiful, because it's a very emotional deck, very much emotional. So I'll be interested to see how it works. I don't know if these decks are going to work, but I also do know they're going to work because I chose them and I trust the process. But what I found also, I completely forgot because it's been a while since I've picked up this deck because it can be a really intense one, that it says I love you on the inside. And that was like a really really sweet moment. Even though my grandfather really is not an English speaker. So, but it was just like, a message for me, it felt like. So I thought that was really lovely. All right, so let us begin with the card around nesting and how and where and what can I take care of myself in this new wave of grief. It's funny, I wanted to say also before I show this card, I haven't looked at it. I'm about to turn it over, but I wanted to also mention that what I saw here as far as like a beard of fire, which is interesting because he did not have a beard, but as soon as I said wave of grief, I saw these as waves. And I thought that was really interesting. And I saw these sort of rays here as the ears of the great horned owl. So that was interesting. Even though there's 4, I don't know. Maybe I really, 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 really need to listen. But okay, so let's look at the card. So we have island. Oh, bitch, I'm gonna cry. My family is from a group of islands off the west coast of Africa, west of Senegal. It's called Cabo Verde. And yeah, so I can think of where my family is from and really connect with the ancestral home. Wow. Okay. Wow, wow, wow. It's funny, I was just thinking the other day of just like how I have such an affinity for islands for obvious reasons. But just how I want to move to an island so bad. I live near the ocean as it is and I love it, but I'm like, I need to live on an island. It doesn't have to be like a small island per se, even if it's like a big, like a country that is an island. But, like New Zealand, I've thought about Taiwan. I don't know if I would live, but Japan is a beautiful place. There's just so many places, obviously besides Cabo Verde, that are just would be so wonderful to live in one day. So anyway, moving on. I'm gonna move here to what I'm listening for. What can I be listening to as far as the ancestral line, my family, and this unit, and like I said, this lineage that is now existing because of him. I really feel like this is a message about taking care and resting for my people. I feel like, that side of actually, not even that side of the family. My families as a whole are all quite fiery, quite passionate. And I'm just reminded, I have his hat, and I'm just reminded of his energy the last time I saw him, actually. And just thinking about honestly, I'm really focused in on this water and this body. It really feels, I know that in this deck, the swords, I believe, is actually a fire element, if I'm not mistaken. I will double check. I'm actually going to read the guidebook because the guidebook for this deck is really, it's really short and sweet. It's really lovely. So I think it might be there could be something really beautiful in there. Okay, so it says, give in to your urge to lay down and rest. A challenging, disarming event has caused depression. The 4 rooted trees protect and nurture while cutting through the noise of the windy mind. Soft pinks heal the creative energy center in the body, gut, and womb. Lavender brings in spiritual harmony and health. It's funny because, grief can be a real time of connection with those of us who are here on this side of things. And yeah, I could just, all I was thinking about looking at that image was rest and connection. And so I love that, just taking care of myself and my family, just taking care of all of us and making sure we have what we need and we're connecting with one another, which is a really sweet message that we all need. We really do. Did I even explain what this last card was going to be? I didn't. But let's just pull it over and see. Okay. It's so funny, right? We have these rays of the one who hides the sun. And we have these tears, which I guess is supposed to be me. And did I say tears? Yeah, tears. It's so funny. My first thought was like, whoa, that's inappropriate. But what it makes me think of is death, and how death feels like it hides the sun. It feels like it sets us in the dark. It sets us in this just really dark place where we can't see. There's a sense of hopelessness, and a lack of warmth. We feel cold. We feel disconnected. And so I feel like it's important to feel, to feel whatever that is, but a reminder that it's so much more. For me, I always make sure to look at death in its full scope. And it can be really hard to do that. But I feel like this reading as a whole, and I feel like everything's actually to the side, is kind of bothering me. Is it? I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. But yeah, it just feels like just a personal message to remember to see the light, remember to see beyond this, not this experience, but to see beyond the initial hopelessness, the initial darkness. And not that darkness is bad, obviously in this image it's very scary. Of course, feel it. There are tears, so let the tears, let them happen. But also remember that the sun is still there and you can still feel it. And there's so much more going on outside of this that is just as real. That's what I always try to think about death. I'm like, it's all real. No part of it is the whole thing. Like, this space is not the entire space that exists. There is everything around it. And yeah, I've been waiting for those rays to come together, and I feel like there they are, just for me. Thank you. So I always like to have like a closer. Yeah, I always like to have a card to close out the reading. Not always, actually, but a lot of the time. But what I think, I'm going to leave it here as far as cards go and continue to reflect on my own. What I will say as a close is that, as I said from the top, I don't remember exactly how I said it, but this is a sort of, not only obviously do I see someone in this, but it is a face of my grief right now. And grief is something extremely, extremely sacred. And it's a cycle, or it's a focus for this upcoming lunar cycle. And I'm so grateful that as I continue to connect with the moon personally, with my cards and, just with my energy overall, I continue to be allowed deeper and deeper into mysteries and realms beyond the day-to-day. And it's such an enriching and life-giving process. And so grief is life-giving. And I don't even know how I feel about saying that. But there is life in grief. And they say grief is love with nowhere to go. And I'm definitely feeling that today. But I'm so grateful that you joined me for this. And I don't even know how to close the video. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And I'm glad I got to share this moment with you and share with you how I'm going to be embarking on a new moon practice. This is certainly not how I expected it to go, but I think it's really beautiful that it did go this way and that we could share this moment together. It was really important to me to stay present, to really show up in my full presence today, especially with all of the emotions that I was feeling. I didn't even know where they were coming from, but this feels like a really special opportunity to uncover and be with those feelings. I'm sending love to you wherever you are, sending love to you all, and I will see you in my next video.